for the Portuguese Infanta, daughter of Sancho I. c. Infanta Constança of Portugal. Infanta Constance of Portugal was a Portuguese infanta by birth and queen consort of Castile by marriage. She was the eldest child and only daughter of King Denis of Portugal and his wife Elizabeth of Aragon, later Saint. Life: Queen consort of Castile and Leon. In the treaty signed between King Sancho IV of Castile and Denis of Portugal in September 1291, established the betrothal between the eldest son and heir of Sancho IV, Ferdinand, with the daughter of the Portuguese king, Constance. Finished with the Valladolid courts of 1295. Maria de Molina, dowager queen and regent of the Kingdom of Castile, in the name of her son Ferdinand IV and Henry of Castile, the senator, co-regent of the kingdom, had a meeting with King Denis of Portugal in Ciudad Rodrigo, where the queen regent surrounded several strongholds in order to end the hostilities between both kingdoms. In addition, the betrothal between Ferdinand IV and Constance was confirmed, and also the future marriage between Ferdinand IV's sister Beatrice with Constance's brother and heir of the Portuguese throne, Alfonso, was arranged. Later, in the Treaty of Alcañices, the betrothal between Constance and Ferdinand IV was again ratified. On the 23rd of January 1302 at Valladolid, Constance finally married King Ferdinand IV of Castile. 4 years later, shortly after the birth of the firstborn child, a daughter called Eleanor, the Castilian king, who was besieging the city of Tordefumas, which housed the rebellious magnate Juan Núñez II de Lara, chief of the House of Lara, sent his wife and newborn daughter to solicit a loan from her father King Denis. During the Valladolid courts of 1307, where Constance didn't participate, Ferdinand IV tried to end the abuses of the nobility, corrected the administration of justice and softened the tax pressure over the Castilians. The next year, the queen gave birth of second daughter, named Constance after her, who died in 1310, aged 2, and was buried in the disappeared convent of Santo Domingo el Real. In April 1311, while in Palencia, Ferdinand IV became gravely ill and was translated to Valladolid, despite the protests of Constance, who wished his transport to carry into Los Condes, with the purpose to control him with the help of her ally Juan Núñez II de Lara. During the king's illness erupted disputes between Juan Núñez II de Lara, Ferdinand IV's brothers, and Juan Manuel, Prince of Villena. While the king was in Toro, the queen gave birth in Salamanca on the 13th of August 1311 a son, the future Alfonso XI of Castile. The newborn heir to the Castilian throne was baptized in the old cathedral of Salamanca, and, against the king's wishes, the will of Constance prevailed, who wanted to give the custody of the prince to Peter, Lord of Camarus and brother of Ferdinand IV. In the autumn of 1311 surged a conspiracy who wanted to depose Ferdinand IV and place the Lord of Camarus in the throne. The conspiracy included John of Castile, Lord of Valencia de Campos, Juan Núñez II de Lara and Lope Diaz de Haro. However, the project failed because of the staunch negative of the dowager Queen Maria de Molina. In the Valladolid courts of 1312, the lasts of the reign of Ferdinand IV, were reunited. Funds for the keeping of the army who would be fight in the next campaign against the Kingdom of Granada was reorganized. The administration of justice, the territorial and local administration, showing with this the king his wishes of a deep reform in all the ambits of administration, at the time that wanted to reinforce the crown's authority in detriment of the nobility. The courts approved the concession of 5 services and 1 fora coin, destined to the payment of the king's vassals, with the exception of Juan Núñez II de Lara, who became the vassal of King Denis of Portugal. On the 7th of September 1312 at the city of Jaéacuten, Ferdinand IV died aged 26. Because of the high temperature during the month of his death, Peter, Lord of Camarus and brother of the late king and now dowager Queen Constance, decided that his remains would be buried in the Mosque Cathedral of Córdoba. The chronicler Alfonso XI confirmed the high temperature as the cause who motivated the burial of Ferdinand IV in Córdoba. The funeral cortege who accompanied the remains of Ferdinand IV to the city of Córdoba was presided by Constance. The body of the king was deposited in the major chapel of the cathedral by disposition of his wife, and was also decided that 6 chaplains could pray every night before the tombstone during the month of September in the anniversary of his death, in perpetuity. Minority of King Alfonso XI of Castile. When John of Castile, Lord of Valencia de Campos and Juan Núñez II de Lara had knowledge of the death of King Ferdinand IV, they asked Queen Maria de Molina to take the regency on behalf of her 1-year-old grandson Alfonso XI, in order to avoid that Peter, Lord of Camarus, take it. However, the Queen refused to take the regency, and she asked both that talk of if with her son Peter. Juan Núñez II de Lara then tried to kidnap the infant king, who was in the city of Avila. However, the local authorities stopped him, prevented by Maria de Molina. Shortly after arrived to Avila Peter, Lord of Camarus, and they refused his entrance to the city. In the meanwhile, John, Lord of Valencia de Campos, and Juan Núñez II de Lara, who are in Burgos, called the Recochambres and others main authorities of the kingdom to be reunited in Sahagun. At the time that Peter, Lord of Camarus, obtained the consent of Maria de Molina to be the guardian of his nephew Alfonso XI during his minority. When John, Lord of Valencia de Campos, knew about the closeness of Peter, Lord of Camarus, he offended him in front of various witnesses, causing that the Lord of Camarus marched against them. The Lord of Valencia de Campos and his collaborators sent them to Philip of Castile, Lord of Cabrera and Ribera, brother of Peter, to talk to him. However, the Lord of Camarus reprimanded his brother to be at the side of the Lord of Valencia de Campos. The Lord of Cabrera and Ribera presented to his mother Maria de Molina the propositions of the Lord of Valencia de Campos, who consisted in a triumvirate between Maria de Molina and the Lords of Camarus and Valencia de Campos. The Queen agreed with this idea. Pedro, Lord of Camarus, went to the Cortes of Palencia of 1313 accompanied by an army of 12,000 men, after having recruited in Asturias and Cantabria, and had gone to the Cortes without desire for a fight, but ready to do it if the other side wished. On the side of the Lord of Camarus militated his uncle Alfonso Tellez de Molina, his son Teo Alfonso de Meneses, Rodrigo Alvarez de Asturias and Fernan Ruiz de Saldana, among others. Recochambres. The main supporters of the Lord of Valencia de Campos was Philip, Lord of Cabrera and Ribera, Fernando de la Cerda and Juan Núñez II de Lara. Once assembled the attendees in the city of Palencia, it was agreed that each of the two sides kept only 1,300 men in the vicinity of the city, although the agreement was broken by the Lord of Valencia de Campos, who kept next to him 4,000 men, who caused that the Lord of Camarus kept 5,000 of his men at his side. During the Cortes, the dowager Queen Constance stopped to give her support to the Lord of Camarus and began to support the Lord of Valencia de Campos, preceding Juan Manuel, Prince of Villena, in the same way. Fearing that disputes arise, at the initiative of Queen Maria de Molina, the lords of Camarasa and Valencia de Campos and his companions left the city and stayed in the villages, Peter staying in Amusco, John in Becerral de Campos, Queen Constance in Grijota, and Maria de Molina in Monzon de Campos. At the same time, the prelates and procurators, supporters of the Lord of Camarasa and Maria de Molina, agreed to meet in the Church of San Francisco at Palencia, of the Order of the Franciscans, while the supporters of the Lord of Valencia de Campos reunited in the convent of San Pablo of Palencia, of the Order of the Dominicans, linked to the House of Lara. Despite the wishes of Peter and his mother, the supporters of the Lord of Valencia de Campos didn't agree to any compromise and appointed him guardian of the king, while the other side appointed guardians the Lord of Camarasa and Queen Maria de Molina. Death and burial. Constance of Portugal died November 18, 1313 in Sahagun. Ancestry.